Imagine, for a moment, a group of early humans gathered around a flickering fire at dusk. They share food, tell stories, and tend to one another's wounds. This simple scene, repeated countless times throughout prehistory, reveals something remarkable. The roots of human cooperation run deep and are fundamental to what it means to be human. But what makes our species uniquely cooperative, and how did these behaviors first emerge? Scientists have long been fascinated by the biological foundations of cooperation, not only in humans but also in our closest animal relatives. At its core, cooperation refers to prosocial acts, actions that benefit others, which often also provide a fitness advantage to the actor. In the animal kingdom, several mechanisms explain why individuals might help one another. Chief among them are kin altruism, reciprocal altruism, and mutualism. Each of these mechanisms has been observed in both human and non-human animals, suggesting that the roots of cooperation are ancient and widely shared. Kin altruism is perhaps the most intuitive. It involves helping relatives because doing so increases the chances that shared genes will be passed on to future generations. This principle, grounded in what is known as Hamilton's rule, predicts that individuals are more likely to act altruistically toward close kin. Yet cooperation can also arise through reciprocity, helping another with the expectation that the favor will be returned in the future. Mutualism, meanwhile, describes situations where cooperating brings immediate benefit to all involved. These mechanisms interact in complex ways, shaping social behavior across the animal kingdom. When we look to our primate cousins, such as chimpanzees and bonobos, we see these dynamics in action. In chimpanzee groups, food sharing is influenced by kinship ties, direct reciprocity, and social factors like the frequency of begging and differences in rank. Chimpanzees have been observed to choose cooperation over competition 5 times more often when given the choice. This finding challenges the popular notion that humans are uniquely predisposed to cooperate. In fact, other primates also show a strong preference for working together under the right circumstances. Bonobos, another close relative, offer further insights. These apes can cooperate not only with immediate kin, but also across group boundaries, suggesting that the capacity for out-group cooperation is not uniquely human. However, humans have developed this capacity to a much greater extent, cooperating flexibly with individuals far beyond their immediate social circles. Despite these similarities, there are crucial differences. While many primates cooperate primarily with relatives, humans stand out in the scale and flexibility of their cooperation. We help not only family members but also non-relatives and even complete strangers. This willingness to extend prosocial behavior beyond kinship is rare in the animal world and cannot be explained by kin selection alone. The question, then, is how humans came to be so unusually cooperative. Evidence points to a combination of evolutionary and cultural factors. One key development was an increase in interpersonal tolerance and trust, which fostered the recognition of kinship and the expansion of social networks. Over time, these changes allowed early humans to form larger and more cohesive groups, capable of achieving feats impossible for individuals acting alone. The roles of women in early human societies offer a telling example. Women's contributions to food processing and distribution likely promoted the formation of households and kin-based groups. These social units became the foundation for human kinship systems and patterns of resource access. By pooling resources and sharing responsibilities, early humans could better protect themselves and their offspring, increasing the odds of survival for all. But kinship is only part of the story. Reciprocity, both direct and generalized, plays a significant role in human cooperation. People are more likely to help those who have helped them in the past, a pattern seen in both humans and other animals. Conscious deliberation adds another layer, as humans can weigh the costs and benefits of helping others, consider reputation, and even plan for long-term relationships. These variables, kinship, reciprocity, and conscious deliberation, interact in complex ways, shaping the spectrum of altruistic tendencies observed across different cultures and contexts. Comparative studies of humans and other primates reveal both shared roots and striking differences in the psychology of cooperation. For example, humans and other primates both engage in reactive prosociality, responding to immediate needs or opportunities for cooperation. However, humans excel in proactive prosociality, the willingness to help in anticipation of future benefits or to maintain a positive reputation. Concern for reputation, in particular, sets humans apart. In many societies, people go to great lengths to be seen as generous or trustworthy, and complex moral systems emerge to enforce and reward cooperative behavior. The scale of human cooperation is especially remarkable. We are what some scientists call an ultrasocial species. Unlike most animals, humans routinely cooperate in groups numbering in the hundreds or thousands, often with unrelated individuals. Our societies feature division of labor, care for the sick and injured, and the ability to organize for collective projects, traits that are exceedingly rare or absent in other species. This ultra-sociality enables humans to achieve colossal feats, from building cities to waging wars, and to enforce complex systems of morality through mechanisms like reputation and punishment. Robin Dunbar's social brain hypothesis offers a possible explanation for these extraordinary abilities. According to this idea, the large size of the human brain, especially relative to our bodies, evolved in response to the demands of living in complex social groups. Humans have an innate need for social connection, and our cognitive capacities allow us to keep track of relationships, navigate alliances, and coordinate with others. This need for connection is not just a pleasant feature of human life, it is vital for our survival. Human cooperation is not uniform, however. Extensive reviews of its evolution and development highlight considerable variation across cultures and historical periods. While the underlying mechanisms, kinship, reciprocity, trust, and reputation are widespread, the ways in which they are expressed can differ dramatically. Some societies may place a premium on helping kin, while others emphasize reciprocal relationships or communal sharing. These differences reflect the interplay of biology, environment, and cultural history. What unites all these threads is the recognition that our propensity to cooperate is deeply rooted in our evolutionary past. Yet only humans have taken this inclination and woven it into the fabric of large, complex societies. We are outliers in the animal kingdom, not because we invented cooperation, but because we scaled it up in unprecedented ways. Our ancestors' willingness to trust, share, and work together laid the foundation for everything that followed, from the first stone tools to the sprawling cities of today. In the end, understanding the roots of human cooperation is essential for understanding who we are. It is not simply a matter of helping kin or returning favors. It is about the intricate dance of biology and culture that has shaped our species. Our survival has always depended on our ability to connect, to trust, and to build relationships that extend far beyond the bounds of blood or immediate gain. And as we look to the future, these same capacities will continue to define what it means to be human. What sets humans apart in the animal kingdom is not just our ability to cooperate, but the astonishing range and scale of our cooperative endeavors. At the heart of this uniqueness lies a suite of psychological mechanisms shaped by evolution and refined by culture, enabling us to synchronize our minds, align our interests, and build societies that far exceed the bounds of kinship and immediate reciprocity. As researchers have discovered, cooperation is not merely a byproduct of human society. It is a central force that profoundly shapes our behavior, cognition, and culture. To understand why humans have become so extraordinarily cooperative, we must look beyond simple self-interest or the bonds of blood. Evolutionary psychology seeks to identify specific adaptations that enable cooperation, viewing them as products of natural and sexual selection. These internal mechanisms, ranging from empathy and theory of mind to the internalization of social norms, set us apart from even our closest primate relatives. Perhaps the most remarkable of these capacities is theory of mind, the ability to infer the thoughts, beliefs, and intentions of others. This skill, developed to its highest degree in humans, likely emerged as an adaptive response to the complex social lives of our primate ancestors. In a world where alliances could shift and intentions were often hidden, anticipating what others might do offered a decisive advantage, not only for competition but, crucially, for cooperation. With advanced theory of mind abilities, early humans could coordinate activities, resolve misunderstandings before they escalated, and engage in joint planning. This cognitive leap came at a cost. Maintaining such a sophisticated social brain is metabolically expensive, but the benefits have been substantial. The ability to read minds, so to speak, allowed humans to form more flexible, reliable, and enduring cooperative bonds. Empathy also evolved as a key ingredient in our social repertoire. Over generations, humans have become increasingly sensitive to the emotions and needs of others. This sensitivity is not just a soft-hearted trait, it is a powerful mechanism for social cohesion. Empathy enables individuals to recognize when a group member is distressed or in need of help and motivates pro-social responses that bind communities together. Social emotions, ranging from guilt and shame to pride and gratitude, are not random feelings but finely tuned signals that guide our behavior toward cooperative ends. Yet psychology alone cannot explain the full extent of human cooperation. Culture and social learning have dramatically amplified our innate tendencies, allowing us to solve collective challenges that would be insurmountable for solitary individuals. Through cumulative cultural evolution, each generation builds upon the knowledge, norms, and strategies of those who came before. This process has given rise to moral systems that enforce cooperation through intricate webs of sanctions and rewards. When someone violates a shared expectation, refusing to share, or acting selfishly, others may impose sanctions, not always out of personal spite, but from a genuine commitment to upholding the group's values. These enforcement mechanisms are often driven by motives such as a sense of justice or concern for reputation. Social norms themselves are among humanity's most powerful inventions. They are the unwritten rules that govern behavior, signaling what is expected, permitted, or forbidden within a group. What makes human norms unique is their flexibility and adaptability. As group membership changes, so too can the norms, allowing communities to recalibrate what it means to cooperate. The internalization of these norms, making them part of one's identity, often leads people to act cooperatively even in the absence of direct supervision or immediate reward. Social identity plays a role as well, as individuals align their actions with the values of the groups they most identify with. Still, maintaining high levels of cooperation is never guaranteed. It requires constant vigilance, as the forces of self-interest and defection are always present. One mechanism that stabilizes cooperation, especially in large groups of unrelated individuals, is the use of sanctions and rewards. Unlike most other species, humans employ a wide range of enforcement strategies, from informal gossip and shunning to formal punishment and legal systems. These mechanisms can be remarkably effective, as reputation is a powerful currency in human societies. The prospect of a damaged reputation, or, conversely, the allure of social esteem, can motivate people to act cooperatively even when there is no immediate payoff. Reputation spreads not only through direct observation, but also through communication stories and reports about who can be trusted and who cannot. Observability, empathy, and the high stakes of reputation all combine to make indirect reciprocity a potent force in human cooperation. Culture does more than reinforce existing tendencies. It can also generate entirely new forms of cooperation. Social learning, rewards, and punishments can stabilize almost any group behavior, from peaceful resource sharing to fierce group loyalty. This capacity helps explain the widespread cooperation between non-kin that characterizes human societies. The theory of cultural group selection suggests that groups with more effective cooperative norms and enforcement mechanisms are more likely to thrive, spreading their practices through imitation or direct competition with other groups. Language is another transformative tool in the human cooperative toolkit. While humans and wild apes may share elements of a gesture-based communication system, only humans have developed an open communication system capable of generating new meanings at will. This flexibility allows us to negotiate, deliberate, and coordinate on an unprecedented scale. Language enables us to share intentions, strategize, and transmit norms across generations. It is a tool for both persuasion and instruction, making possible the complex division of labor and large-scale collective action that define human societies. The limits of animal communication systems, closed, tied to specific contexts, and lacking the generativity of language, help explain why non-human species have not achieved human-like cultural and cooperative complexity. The biological capacity to support these cultural processes is also critical. Non-human species, despite possessing some rudimentary forms of communication and social learning, lack the necessary cognitive and neural infrastructure for cumulative cultural evolution. Human sociality is unique in its ability to harness language and culture as tools for solving cooperative challenges, allowing us to adapt to a bewildering variety of environments and group sizes. The interaction between genetic and cultural evolution has produced a kind of ultra-sociality that cannot be fully explained by biology alone. Mechanisms such as kinship, reciprocity, reputation, signaling, and punishment all play a part, but their effects are magnified and sometimes transformed by cultural learning and the collective enforcement of norms. The major evolutionary engines driving cooperation in our species include not just genetic inheritance, but also the coevolution of genes and culture, allowing for rapid adaptation to new social contexts. Across diverse societies, cooperative behaviors and norms emerge in response to local conditions, shaped by the challenges and opportunities each community faces. Some emphasize sharing and egalitarianism, others hierarchy and loyalty, but in all cases, cooperation is a dynamic achievement, negotiated and renegotiated through social mechanisms. Consistency, flexibility, and predictability are fundamental. People must be able to rely on each other, adapt to changing circumstances, and anticipate how others will behave. Over time, the history of human empathy and cooperation has expanded in scope. Movements like the Enlightenment and the rise of humanist philosophies have promoted the idea of universal bonds and equal dignity, pushing the boundaries of who is included within the circle of cooperation. This expansion is not inevitable, nor is it ever complete, but it testifies to the remarkable plasticity of the human social mind. In the end, the puzzle of human cooperation is not solved by pointing to a single trait or mechanism. It is the interplay of evolved psychological capacities, empathy, theory of mind, sensitivity to norms and reputation, and the amplifying force of culture and language that sets us apart. Through this intricate dance, humans have become, as some scholars contend, the most cooperative species on the planet, not by accident, but by design shaped over millennia. Human cooperation is remarkable not only for its scale but also for its resilience, its ability to thrive among strangers, across vast populations, and over generations. At the heart of this extraordinary expansion lies a singular human achievement, the creation of institutions. Institutions are not merely buildings or governing bodies, they are living frameworks, a set of rules, norms, and expectations that shape how people behave and interact. These frameworks, which include laws, markets, and governments, allow cooperation to extend far beyond the boundaries of kinship or small communities, supporting the complex societies we inhabit today. The story of how institutions drive cooperation begins with a crucial evolutionary transition. In the natural world, cooperation often arises within small groups, families, close allies, or bands united by necessity. Humans, however, took this basic template and transformed it by forming higher-level units, institutions that could organize and coordinate the actions of thousands, even millions, of unrelated individuals. This transformation was far from automatic. It required new mechanisms to align interests, manage conflicts, and ensure that individuals who might never meet in person could still work together toward shared goals. One of the most powerful tools humans developed for this purpose is the culturally evolved norm. Unlike instincts or fixed behaviors, norms specify how people should act in particular contexts. They are not hardwired; instead, they are learned, taught, and enforced within groups. These norms offer an evolutionarily novel way for people to identify and align with others who share the same behavioral expectations. This step is vital in scaling up cooperation, as it enables large numbers of people to coordinate their actions, trust one another's intentions, and exclude those who would undermine the collective good. The ability to negotiate the rules of these institutions is a uniquely human strength. Unlike other species, humans excel at coming together, debating, and reshaping the very systems that govern their interactions. This capacity was essential in the transition from small, kin-based societies where everyone knew each other to vast societies characterized by division of labor among strangers. In such settings, it is no longer feasible to rely on personal relationships or direct reciprocity. Instead, cooperation depends on shared rules, formal agreements, and mutual recognition of authority. Social norms remain important, especially in small-scale societies, but as groups grow larger, new mechanisms are needed to sustain cooperation. A key puzzle of human evolution is how we came to cooperate with unrelated strangers, often in one-off or transient encounters. The answer lies in the emergence of dynamic models, institutions that generate and continually adapt the rules governing economic and social interactions. These institutions do not remain static. They evolve alongside the populations they serve, responding to changes in demography, technology, and the scale of social life. Trust, reputation, and punishment play central roles in this process. Reputation-based systems in particular have proven crucial for enabling cooperation among non-kin. In a world where you cannot know everyone personally, reputation serves as a proxy for trustworthiness. News of a person's actions, good or bad, spreads through gossip, stories, and increasingly formal records. Individuals who act cooperatively are rewarded with trust and opportunities. Those who betray others are shunned or sanctioned. This indirect reciprocity allows cooperation to flourish even among people who may never interact again. Yet, the relationship between trust and cooperation is subtle. While the ability to trust others beyond immediate kin has been a critical evolutionary adaptation for large-scale societies, research suggests that trustworthiness and cooperation are often products of reciprocity rather than trust alone. In fact, societies can function well even without high levels of interpersonal trust, as long as other mechanisms, such as reputation systems, enforceable contracts, or institutional oversight, are in place to secure cooperation. Punishment, both formal and informal, is another linchpin of large-scale cooperation. When individuals break the rules or try to profit at the group's expense, coordinated punishment can arise from the actions of those who enforce norms. This might take the form of peer punishment, where group members directly sanction defectors, or pool punishment, where resources are combined to support third-party enforcement, as seen with law enforcement agencies or regulatory bodies. Different forms of punishment have been studied for their efficiency and effects on group cooperation, with some mechanisms proving effective even in systems primarily based on reciprocity. Psychological mechanisms also guide our judgments about when, how, and whom to punish. These mechanisms have a long adaptive history and are sensitive to context, intent, and the perceived fairness of the punishment itself. In some cases, legitimate and cooperative punishment sanctioning those who violate shared rules can increase the overall efficiency of resource sharing, helping to maintain the delicate balance between individual incentive and collective welfare. Still, punishment is not a cure-all. It can be costly, and antisocial strategies, such as punishing cooperators or abusing authority, can undermine its effectiveness if left unchecked. Institutions help overcome these challenges by formalizing the rewards for good behavior and penalties for rule-breaking. They provide a stable, predictable environment in which cooperation among millions becomes possible. Markets, for example, have long served as engines of human cooperation by enabling the division of labor and peaceful exchange. But markets do not operate in a vacuum. They require the backing of states or governing bodies to enforce contracts, resolve disputes, and prevent violence. The close relationship between market integration and cooperative culture is illustrated by historical data from the United States between 1850 and 1920, when increased market integration shaped not just economic behavior but also the very norms and attitudes that underpin cooperative life. As societies grew and markets expanded, new forms of cooperation emerged, supported by the rise of institutions capable of managing the risks and complexities of large-scale interaction. In resource-sharing environments, mechanisms like cooperative punishment and collective oversight improved efficiency and reduced the temptation to defect. Costly group markers, such as religious affiliations or academic titles, also began to serve as signals that facilitate group cooperation, helping people who might otherwise have little in common to work together. The coevolution of institutions, demography, and cooperative behavior offers a powerful lens for understanding the transition from small to large-scale societies. As populations grew and became more diverse, institutions adapted, incorporating new rules, enforcement mechanisms, and forms of governance. This process continues today as the world confronts global challenges that demand cooperation on an unprecedented scale. The incremental improvement of global governance through new and strengthened institutions, international summits, and the expansion of cooperation across borders reflects the same basic dynamic that has driven human societies for millennia. The relentless search for ways to align individual interests with the collective good. In the end, the expansion of human cooperation is not simply a triumph of goodwill or moral sentiment. It is the result of painstaking cultural innovation, institutional design, and social negotiation. Institutions, with their rules, rewards, and sanctions, provide the scaffolding that makes large-scale collaboration possible. They transform the puzzle of cooperating with strangers into a solvable problem, drawing on the deep wells of reputation, trust, and collective enforcement. Through these mechanisms, humans have built societies that are not only larger and more complex than any found in nature, but also uniquely capable of meeting the challenges of collective life. Human cooperation is often celebrated as the driving force behind civilization, a power that has enabled us to build cities, explore the cosmos, and tackle challenges beyond the reach of any individual or even a single nation. Yet, as we conclude our exploration of this uniquely human trait, it becomes clear that cooperation has its limits. These boundaries are shaped by the same forces that once fueled cooperation's rise, and our future depends on how well we understand and adapt to them. One of the most striking and perhaps unsettling truths about human cooperation is how deeply it is intertwined with conflict. Evidence shows that competition between groups does not simply divide us. Paradoxically, it can drive us to be more cooperative within our own groups. Studies of public goods dilemmas reveal that when people perceive an external threat or rivalry, another group competing for the same resources or status, cooperation among group members intensifies. This pattern, which some scholars associate with the so-called male warrior hypothesis, suggests that competition and even the threat of violence have historically pushed human communities to unite, setting aside internal disputes to present a common front. In extreme cases, the specter of lethal group conflict has actually sustained high levels of cooperation within groups. This interplay is a vivid example of what scientists call multi-level selection. While individuals may compete for advantage in daily life, the presence of between-group competition favors those who can put aside personal gain for the collective good, at least when the stakes are high. But this evolutionary dynamic has a double edge. While competition can inspire remarkable teamwork, it also limits the reach of our cooperation. Research suggests that interactions between groups, whether nations, factions, or organizations, are generally less congenial and more combative than those within groups. The same forces that bind us together can make it difficult to bridge divides, especially when group identity is at stake. When we encounter outsiders, our natural inclination is often to draw boundaries, focus on differences, and sometimes treat them with suspicion or even hostility. This tension is not just a relic of our evolutionary past. It continues to shape the world today, making large-scale, cross-group cooperation an ongoing challenge. Even within groups, cooperation and competition are intricately entwined. Competing against more skilled opponents, for example, can increase stress but also motivate individuals to perform at their best. This dynamic mix of rivalry and alliance keeps social systems vibrant but also unstable, as personal ambitions and group interests are never perfectly aligned. The constant balancing act between self-interest and group welfare remains central to the story of human cooperation. Nowhere are the limits and possibilities of cooperation more evident than in the global response to climate change. Climate change is, by all accounts, a defining issue of our time, one that demands a level of international cooperation unprecedented in human history. The risks are collective. Rising sea levels, extreme weather, and food insecurity threaten all nations, regardless of borders. And yet, progress has been modest. While there have been some successes, international agreements, shared research, and efforts to finance adaptation and mitigation, the fundamental problem persists. The temptation for countries to free-ride, benefiting from the efforts of others without contributing themselves, remains strong. National interests, short-term political calculations, and economic rivalries often override the global good. The result is a patchwork of commitments and actions that fall far short of what is needed to address the planetary crisis. International negotiations, such as those at major climate conferences, highlight the formidable obstacles to cooperation on a global scale. Power dynamics between wealthy and poorer nations, lingering north-south divides, and divergent economic interests complicate the search for consensus. Each side brings its own priorities and grievances, making it difficult to forge agreements that are both ambitious and fair. The most recent rounds of negotiation have vividly illustrated these divides, as participants struggle to reconcile the urgent need for collective action with the reality of conflicting interests and responsibilities. Despite these challenges, many scholars and policymakers advocate for a paradigm shift in how we approach global governance and collaboration. They argue that only by fundamentally reimagining our systems, moving beyond zero-sum thinking, building new frameworks for trust, and strengthening the institutions that facilitate cooperation, can we hope to secure sustainable solutions for future generations. Optimists see in our unique capacity for collaboration the seeds of such a transformation, but they also recognize the scale of the task ahead. The path toward effective, equitable cooperation is neither straightforward nor assured, but it remains essential if humanity is to confront shared threats. Looking ahead, the landscape of human cooperation is poised to change in ways never before imagined, particularly as technology reshapes how we work together. The integration of artificial intelligence and automation into society is a case in point. In manufacturing, for example, human-robot collaboration is already transforming how work is organized, bringing both efficiency gains and new challenges for team dynamics and safety. These hybrid teams, where humans and machines work side by side, require new forms of communication, trust, and oversight. The broader adoption of artificial intelligence raises profound questions about the nature of cooperation itself. Scholars emphasize that the most promising path is not automation alone, but the development of systems that enhance and augment human capabilities. Augmented intelligence, the idea that artificial intelligence should amplify rather than replace human expertise, points to a future in which humans and machines collaborate as partners. Yet, this vision depends critically on maintaining human oversight, ethical standards, and, above all, the uniquely human capacities for empathy, trust, and judgment. In other words, even as technology advances, the core elements of cooperation, communication, mutual understanding, and shared purpose remain as vital as ever. The evolution of these human-centric approaches to technology highlights a broader truth about the limits and potential of cooperation. As powerful as our social minds and institutions are, they are ultimately tools that must be wielded wisely with an awareness of both their strengths and vulnerabilities. Free riding, group conflict, and the temptation to prioritize narrow interests over the common good are not relics of a distant past, they are persistent features of collective life. Yet, by understanding the forces that shape our cooperative instincts, the interplay of competition and collaboration, the influence of institutions, and the potential of new technologies, we gain the ability to design systems that foster trust, encourage shared goals, and adapt to new challenges. The story of human cooperation, then, is unfinished. It is a story of extraordinary achievements and persistent struggles, a testament to our capacity to work together, and a reminder of the boundaries we must continually strive to overcome. The future will undoubtedly present new dilemmas, from the governance of powerful technologies to the management of planetary-scale risks. Whether we rise to meet these challenges will depend not just on the tools we invent, but on our willingness to recognize our interdependence, to extend the circle of cooperation beyond old boundaries, and to cultivate the moral and institutional innovations needed for a more collaborative world. In this, as in so many things, our uniquely human talent for cooperation remains both our greatest asset and our greatest test.